Hi again, folks. Welcome into UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch. And as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping. And where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and by the great George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota 409 Mass Ave in Lexington, the big wheel, we call him, the big wheel George Gray. All right, we've got the biggest of wheels today, and our good pal Doug Flutie. And we know that the date was last week for the 40th anniversary of the Miracle in Miami, but I always go by the day after Thanksgiving because that's when it was. And who can forget where they were, what they were doing. And to make a formal introduction of our guest, Doug Flutie, is Robert Lobel. Lobie, take it away.
Well, it's pretty hard, Michael, to zero in on Doug and all the things that he's done. And it's kind of remarkable. It's one of the longest Wikipedia pages I've ever seen with all, all the honors, all the Hall of Fames, and or is it Halls of Fame, and everything he did at Natick High School and everything he did since at Boston College. And then I don't think people realize he played 12 years in the National Football League. I mean, they're just all kinds of things. But one of the things I love to think about the drop kick. I know the drop kick Murphys had to come from someplace, but one of my favorite things was the drop kick that he executed, the first one since 1941 in the NFL, and undoubtedly will be the last. But he did it against the Miami Dolphins, and the Miracle in Miami was against the Miami University. So I just think there's a little connection there. But I don't know, Doug. I can start off by saying, with all the things you've accomplished, and I know this is the 40th anniversary of the pass, and we know there's a road been named after you in Flutie Pass. But of all the things, what is there one thing that stands out for you in this remarkable career that you've had?
Everything went through in stages. I'd like to, I just went back to BC for the 40th, and the legacy that our group of guys left at Boston College was pretty special. I don't think Boston College, especially with the NIL and all that stuff going on, to finish in the top 5 in the country and to have a Heisman Trophy winner and to go to 3 consecutive bowls back then. It's different now. Yeah, you can get the bowl games by going 500. I'm really proud of that legacy that we had at BC. Also, like personally, the year I came back from the CFL to the NFL, got an opportunity to start in Buffalo, made a Pro Bowl, went to the playoffs, and that was very important to me personally. That was like I knew I could do this. I just needed the opportunity type year for me. And it was very that year was very satisfying personally, but in big picture stuff, football wise, I think what we did at Boston College will be the lasting thing. Outside of that, I think our foundation, I say this, I played 21 years, which is absolutely ridiculous. 21 years of pro ball. I've already had the foundation for 26 years, and it's growing and building continuously. I think when all is said and done, that may wind up being my legacy.
I thought you might answer that. I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
No, that's something that I know you're very proud of, and you should be proud of. And it's a great answer to Bob's question. The thing you're most proud of.
Yeah, it's been. I thought, like, I've been out of football for 18 years. And I thought that once I left football, that the facial recognition, the popularity, all that would wane, and the foundation would suffer because of it. And it's just continued to grow, which is just a compliment to all those people that have supported us, that realize that's an important issue, and just God bless all the people that have supported us over the years.
Well, look like behind me over here. I guess that back here.
Is that a Canadian flag? What do you got back there?
No, the Flutie Flakes.
Flutie Flakes.
Oh, I can't see. See, I'm blind. I told you that before. I didn't put on any glasses.
And there's a number 2 back there, Patriots jersey.
Fantastic, Michael. We all went through all that together back. That's something that, you guys were as much a part of all the stuff at Boston College with me as it was. I talked about it before, Mike. We've been friends now for 40 years. And, Bob, some of the pieces that you did and Mike did on the air, being creative and doing highlight things. And it was all part of that time for me. And you guys are special.
I want to spend a little more time talking about the foundation and the Doug Flutie Foundation, um, and your son and all the things that have gone into this, and also Lori. I still am amazed that the only game she ever saw on the road was in Miami during the past. Do you know that, Lynchy? The only
I did
game
not know that. No.
the only game that his wife, girlfriend, whatever at the time was the only game she attended on the road was the Miami Pass game.
Yeah, she, it was Thanksgiving, and it was Thanksgiving week too. And, we're both of us very family oriented, and she'd never been away, especially at Thanksgiving. And for whatever reason, she wanted to go to that game. And also, ironically, Gerard Phelan's girlfriend at the time, lifelong wife, I was just with Gerard and Lisa. Lisa was a cheerleader on that squad, so she was at the game as well. No, she had graduated, but she was there as well.
I want to go back to the beginning of that year because, people at the beginning of the year, they whispered the Heisman Trophy, but you still had a murderous schedule, starting with Alabama at least. Now, in those days, before Tuscaloosa built a 100,000 seat stadium, and they used to play the Auburn, Alabama game at Legion Field. And that was your first, that was the first game, was Saturday night, national TV. And I was down there with Bob Newmeyer, and, we were in the end zone. And we've talked about this and laughed about this, but the team is going through their walkthrough. And I don't know if it was Barry Gallup or somebody walked up to Jack McNell, your coach, and whispered in his ear. And Jack went, "What?" And said what he whispered was, Flutie, Phelan, and Kelvin Martin missed the bus over to the practice before the game. Remember that?
The practice the day before. It was that was the day before, on Friday.
Day before, yeah. So. So Jack is like walking around. All of a sudden, we see this taxi cab pull up in the end zone. And the three of you get out the thing. And honest to God, you ran 120 yards like Usain Bolt, the three of you guys. And so McNell had a little media session, and we held the microphone up in front of him. We said, Jack, is there going to be any disciplinary action, for the guys missing the bus and being late for the work? He says, I thought long and hard about this, and yes, there will be. We're going to fire that goddamn bus driver.
It was, we were at the hotel, and we'd just gotten in, and we had a couple hours to kill before we get on the bus to go over to the stadium. And Gerard and I are sitting in the room playing chess, and Kelvin Martin fell asleep. Now, Kelvin had the only watch in the room, so we were going by Kelvin's watch, and we figured, we didn't realize it. We were going by his watch thinking it was East Coast time, but he had already turned the watch back an hour to match the time in Alabama. So we thought we had another hour, and we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we heard the buses pulling out. You could hear the sound of the buses. We look out the window, and sure enough, the buses are going, and we're like waking Calvin up, and he tells us, no, he had already adjusted his watch, and we just hauled ass and got down there and got to, no disciplinary action other than firing a bus driver, probably.
Nobody better than Jack.
And then it's amazing. It's not like we're doing something getting in trouble either, right? We're sitting there playing chess. Who does that? Idiots.
Jack was the perfect guy for that team, I think.
No doubt about it. And we were all together for the 40th reunion the other night. And I've said it to him, and I've said it to Coughlin as well. I had Tom Coughlin as an offensive coordinator for 3 years. My senior year, Tom left to go to the NFL, but I had Jack on game day, and he kept me loose, relaxed. He tried not to. He didn't want. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he didn't want to bog me down, and tried to just release the reins, take the handcuffs off, and let me go. And he really, Jack's favorite joke is, on those days where I throw a couple of picks in the first half and I'd walk over, he's like, Doug, we're wearing maroon today. We're throwing to the white jerseys. It was a situation where he trusted my judgment. Yeah, some mistakes are going to happen, but he really allowed me to just play loose and free. And Jack was such a big part of everything that came together there with that team, especially for me.
I know you've talked about this, I'm sure, many times, and people have asked you to relive it many times, but this is the 40th anniversary. And I mean, of what? No, we'll talk about your career and how remarkable it was, but it is the 40th anniversary of that play. Was the play? Let's take us back into the huddle. Okay, I'll just set it up. You guys were behind Miami University. You've got the ball like on a 22-yard line with 28 seconds to play, something like that, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then here you go. You're in your own 22 with 28 seconds to play. Pick it up from there.
I get in the huddle and I realize we only have 28 seconds. And Jackie Bicknell Jr. was our center. And Jackie said this to me the other night. And he said he uses this a lot with his teams that he's an offensive line coach. I got in the huddle. I said, okay, guys, we got 28 seconds. All we got to do is get this thing to midfield. We got to get the ball to midfield and we have a shot. We'll put one up for the end zone and see what happens. Now, we'd already completed one at halftime against Temple earlier in the year that actually looks identical to the Miami pass. And there was a confidence about the team in that situation that, it wasn't just a Hail Mary. It was like running a legitimate play. So what Jackie said to me was he felt very defeated. And when we got into the huddle and I said that, it seemed reasonable to think, yeah, we can do that. We can get the ball to midfield and give ourselves a chance. So there was like, you finally had a game plan in mind of what to do. So the first play, actually, I ran double seams with comebacks on the outside. And I was hoping to hit Troy Strafford running up the seam. And Troy went around the linebacker. I put it in the window. He catches it. And we got about a 20-yard gain out of it. I probably should have thrown the comeback on the outside to Gerard because he would have just gotten out of bounds easily and had about the same gain. But I was hoping to hit somebody running. The other unique thing here is we had 2 timeouts, but we were very good at getting on the ball and getting it snapped as soon as they set it because the clock stops after a first down. So we didn't use a timeout, ran another play. I step up through the pocket and hit the tight end Scott Gieselman crossing. He catches it and gets out of bounds. And we're already on their 48. So now we're at their 48, that maybe 12 seconds. I don't know, something like that. So we had one more play before we got to throw one for the end zone. And again, it was a situation where I stepped up through and I should have hit Scott. I don't know. I rushed it. I short armed it a little and bounced the throw. So it went incomplete. We could have been down as close as the 30-yard line. So now we got 6 seconds left. They run Sean Dombrowski, a freshman wide receiver. I saw Sean this weekend too. A freshman wide receiver onto the field with the play call. And he's all the way to the huddle and he's tapping on Troy to get out. So we have 3 wide receivers. And I wanted Troy on the field. I trusted Troy. Yeah, we've been together. I want the guys I trust in the huddle on the field at that moment. I'm like, no, Sean, get out of here. I know the play. Relax. Go back. So he starts jogging back the sideline. The coaches are yelling at him. Right. He's caught in between the sideline and the huddle like 3 different times. And I finally swore at him, said, get off the field and got back in my huddle. So now I got the guys that I want on the field and we call the play 55 flood tip. And we line up and a couple things happened. There was an inadvertent whistle. They had a defensive back lined up over Calvin Martin, who was our fastest wide receiver on the outside. So he's going to jam he lined up initially over Gerard and which would have allowed Kelvin to be the first guy down the field. There's an inadvertent whistle and we realign. I realize at this point, they're only rushing 3. I walk over and tell the tight end, Pete Casparillo, on backside, hey, you're supposed to be in protection, but just go long, get wide and go long. I was thinking maybe I'll roll right. And if everybody flows with me, I'll peek backside. We all realign. I also told Steve Strahan, who's the fullback, who should have been in pass protection, to do the same on the strong side. Just get down there, join the party. And you never know, you might get a tip, whatever, because it's only going to be a 3-man rush. At the last instant, the guy over Gerard decides to walk out over Kelvin because he's faster, which allowed Gerard to be the guy to get down the field first. Okay, all this stuff I've talked about for 100 years. They get down there. I break contain. I don't have time to look backside to Pete. Someone's running at me. I put the ball up. I see the free safety go up. The backside corner jumps up. They bump into each other. Ball goes through and Gerard catches it. Now, the backside corner bumped into the free safety. which meant, and I found this out Pete told me this immediately after the game. He goes, hey, we had a shot on the backside. The tight end, he's all by himself at the 10-yard line because the backside corner drifted all the way across the field, jumped it. If I had had a chance to set myself, I may have thrown the ball back to the sideline to Pete down the left side. The other aspect that came into play that I found out this weekend, or maybe I just remember, Steve Strahan and I are talking. Now, Strahan's not supposed to be involved in the play. He's supposed to be in pass protection. But I told him at the last thing, get your ass down there. Go join the party. There might be a tip ball, whatever. Steve was the second closest guy to the ball, and he was around the 5-6 yard line. And he started drifting towards the throw and tried to jump and make a play on it, bumping into the two Miami defenders, which kept them from actually really jumping and making a play on the ball because of the contact that happened there with Steve. And the ball goes through clean to Gerard, and Gerard catches it. So they're just so many like I said about Pete on the backside. He came up to me after the game saying, oh, we had for 35 years, I heard we had a chance. And I finally saw the video and got a picture, like a still frame. He's by himself on the 10-yard line. Now, the ball would have been in the air a long time, had to go across the field. People would have been running. Who knows what would have happened. But there were some interesting, it's funny that 35 years later, I learned two new interesting twists to the play. And of course, I started to run down the field, and I never got there. I ended up in Steve Trapillo's arms, and there's some iconic pictures. And it's still one hell of a catch by Gerard. Gerard, when he went by the guys, I started to roll right. He said everybody just stopped and stood flat-footed, probably thinking, number one, I can't throw the ball that far, and number two, I was on the move. So there's no way I'm going to throw it that far. He got behind him. He saw the ball flight, and then at the last instant, lost sight of it because they bumped into each other, came through clean. He said it brushed his face mask and then hit him in the chest and kind of slid down to his legs, and he kind of caught it down by his thighs and cradled the ball. He still didn't know he was in the end zone until he looked down and saw paint, because he really started eyeing the ball at about the 3-yard line and kind of backpedaled to catch it. And Gerard always says, the first thing he says is, no way in hell they're going to let us get away with this in Miami. He thought for sure they'd throw a flag or something. But he also almost suffocated under the pile. That's the other aspect of that.
You've seen this 8,000 times, but you can't see this throwing up. Keelan, roll that tape, and let's watch that play one more time.
Flutie flushed, throws it down, caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. It's a touchdown. The Eagles win it. Unbelievable. I don't believe it. Phelan is at the bottom of that pile. Here comes the Boston College team. He threw it into the end zone. There was no time left on the clock. The ball went between two defensive backs of Miami.
Jack's on the sideline with his headset. He said he got tangled in the headset, couldn't get it off. He said he had pretty much given up on the game and thought, what am I going to say to the guys? The guys, they played so well, and it was such a tough game. What am I going to say? And then he just got, caught up in the moment with everybody else. And seeing that video, I see a 3-man pile, Steve Strahan and the two defensive backs falling to the ground. That's the way I look at it now.
There are a couple of videos of that, and I know Lynch, your guy had your own, and Tom Raycamp and Newmeyer had their own video, which is my favorite because Raycamp, who is a great sports photographer, followed the ball all the way down. After Doug threw it, the camera was on the ball right into Phelan's arms. It was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's cool to see the different angles and to hear the Dan Davis call that we've all heard 1,000 times.
Oh yeah, he did it. Flutie did it. He did it.
Yeah. The energy level of Dan, it's one of those moments. And I say this, Lynchy, all the time. I played 21 years of pro ball. I had a really good college career, all that. But we all get forgotten. Everybody moves on and all that. It's nice to have, an iconic type play, at least something that people can hang on to and do remember. So it's very, it brings a smile to my face every time we bring it up.
No question about it. You still have to play one more game, which is against Holy Cross. But did you feel like if you didn't win that game, your shot at the Heisman goes out the window?
I don't think so. What happened, and I don't think people really realize this. I was third in the Heisman balloting my junior year. Going into my senior year, I was the front runner. We started out the season with the upset win at Alabama. Followed that up with a nationally televised game against North Carolina, and I threw 6 touchdown passes. From that point on, I was the front runner. And oh my God, Brett Musburger said when at the award ceremony, he said, a lot of people believe that the Miami Pass won the Heisman for Flutie, but what it did was only made the people that didn't vote for him look stupid. And that was the way he phrased it. So most of the balloting was in that week anyway. Back then we were all mail-in. So a lot of the votes had already been cast and already sent in. In fact, the following week, we did play that Holy Cross game. And then immediately after the Holy Cross game, I got on a private jet down to New York, got there just in time for the ceremony and all that. I had the most mediocre, crappy. I mean, we blew Holy Cross out, but I had just the most mediocre game ever playing against Holy Cross.
Your brother had a hell of a game.
He really did. That's what I remember about Holy Cross was, Darren was just a freshman, would get in. He had maybe 15, 16 catches that year. But in the Holy Cross game, he made a couple of huge plays. He caught a post route. He made a couple of big plays. He scored 2 touchdowns. And one of them, he just busted a tackle and spun up through the middle for about a 20-yard run. And I had my first touchdown pass to Darren in that game. And that's what I remember about the Holy Cross game more than anything is that Darren had his first big game.
There were a lot of great spin-offs to the college and pro career that you had, but one thing that Lynchy always wanted to do that he never got to do that you did was be on Dancing with the Stars.
No, he does not. Lynchy, you do not want to be anywhere near.
Well, he's told me many times, Doug, he really wished he was tagged for Dancing with the Stars. So, I guess he'll have to vicariously live it through you.
That was, I'll tell you, Bob. They'd asked me 4 or 5 times, and I said no. We went on a cruise just last minute. My cousin and his wife were going on a cruise, and we didn't have anything going on. So very last minute, there was an open room or whatever, and we went on it winds up being a Dancing with the Stars cruise. Like Florence Henderson was on it. Some of the people that have been on Dancing with the Stars, and then some of the dancers, and they performed during the week. So now they had the whole week to work on me to get me to go and convince my wife and my daughter. The biggest thing was convincing my wife. But my daughter, Alexa, she's a dancer. She really wanted me to go so that she could go and hang out. And so they talked me into it, and it was pure work. And I was petrified the entire time. It was just not, I'm glad I did it now, but it was not enjoyable. It was work. A lot of anxiety.
See, Lynchy, I told you it wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
I know. I thought I could compete, and but yeah, maybe I'm glad I didn't go on there. I'm not a good dancer.
See, Mike, this is the thing. Back when Dancing with the Stars started out, it was for celebrities to come and learn to dance.
Yeah.
And then progress as the season went on, and you had to get better. Now, and at the time I went, there were 10 people out of the 12 that were already professional dancers that at some level had performed or been a professional, and then a couple of football players. And that's the difference is now they come in week 1 and it's an exhibition of these celebrities that can dance. And it just was different. But I was fortunate enough that I made it through 6 weeks. I skated. I got to dance 7 weeks out of the 11. So it was a pretty cool experience from that standpoint. But the best time was once you, like on the live broadcast, once you did your dance and you could hang out and relax and just enjoy everybody else and cheer for everybody else, then I enjoyed like the second half of the show. But all week long, the anxiety and the trying to learn, as you get older, it's tough to learn new tricks. It's hard to remember the steps. So it was I had a lot of anxiety over it. I'll just put it that way.
Is every dance the same amount of time? Does everybody get 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 2.5?
Yeah, I think it was a minute and a half. I think they were like minute and a half. And then towards the end, I think when there were fewer dancers, they lengthened that. But like I said, I was more concerned about remembering the steps and just remembering the dance. I was at that level rather than a performance level, right? Once you're comfortable with something, it's the same principle as football. Walking out there and you're thinking, it just it paralyzes you. It slows you down if you're thinking. And you got to get to the point where it's second nature.
Speaking of thinking, did Jack allow you to call your own plays?
He allowed me to call my own plays in 2 minutes. So anytime we went no huddle, I was calling my own plays, which lends itself to, like that last drive, we ran 4 plays. I called all 4. It's like the most important situation. That's the play call. There's no magic in the play call. The magic is in the execution. So just call what you're comfortable with. And as long as you execute that, and that was a great thing when I was in Canada, I was calling my own plays most of the time, is that I always put myself in a position to be successful because I was only calling the stuff I liked and the stuff that I thought was easy. And I wouldn't call that. Now occasionally there's a situation that comes up where you put a new play in that week and this is the perfect situation for it. And we got to go try to execute it and do it that first time. I hated that. I liked calling all the stuff that I was really familiar with. And so, and that also lent itself to, in a 2-minute situation, not wasting any time. We just get up over the ball. I'd yell the play out and we would snap it as soon as they were set for play. And we never wasted time. You watch, and even NFL, after the ball is marked, how much time is wasted before the ball is snapped? Especially in college, but in the NFL as well. And I thought back then we were really good at it. And we were good at it because we were calling the plays on the field.
Well, I got to stop and interject. We did Dancing with the Stars. Now we're going to talk about Camping with the Stars.
Camping.
Well, that's one of our main sponsors, Cold Springs RV, and Camping with the Stars. Well, let me just go through this, Doug, and then see how you can relate, because Camping with the Stars may not be quite as stressful as Dancing with the Stars. Or The Voice. You might have been The Voice one of these days. Everybody thought Brady was going to be The Voice. Hey, you play the drums. Darren is in the band, plays the guitar. And, you guys could have been on The Voice and still may be. But, okay, let's talk about Camping with the Stars, especially in the year 2025 coming up. Cold Springs RV in Ware, New Hampshire, as next year's models, and they're arriving daily. So all the stars that are interested in go camping with the stars, go check out the latest in pop-ups, travel trailers, fifth wheelers, and motorhomes. Tell them Lobel and Lynch sent you. In Cold Springs RV, the doors are always open. You can browse freely. If you want to have a relationship, perhaps you should get a camper, move it to a campgrounds, park it next to, a smoking hot camper, and there you go. If it works, you can just kind of hook up. If not, you can leave at midnight, and by the time she wakes up, or the time you wake up, she'll be gone. As the case may be. The doors are always open. You can browse freely. It's one of the great things about camping. You're free. You're absolutely free to come and go as you like. You want to see the latest in camping? Get to Cold Springs RV. They're west of Goffstown. They're north of Tingsboro. The destination for all things camping in Ware, New Hampshire. That's right, Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
ColdSpringsRV.com. So, Mike, Doug, talk about Dancing with the Stars.
I'm in. Count me in. Let's go.
We're in.
We're in.
All right.
Who
So,
would you want to camp
Can we
with?
tow the
Doug? That's-
Batmobile up there?
Go ahead.
all right. So here's the deal, Doug. If you remember last time you were here, in lieu of being paid to come on the show, when they eventually build this Lobie Lynchy cruiser, which is going to be like the Madden cruiser because he never wanted to fly. So we're going to give you the Lobie Lynchy cruiser for a week. You get to take it from either Florida or Massachusetts to the West Coast. We'll fly you back. But you have to pick somebody to ride shotgun with you. It can be an athlete. It can be a Dancing with the Stars cast member. It could be a historical figure. It could be someone alive, someone deceased. Who would you want to ride shotgun with for 7 days cross country?
Or you could just go camp somewhere, right? You don't have to drive. You can just, go camping.
Well, rather than thinking of a historical figure, the first guy that comes to mind is Tim DeWhite, who I played with in New England and San Diego. Because Tim's a fun guy. We'd go surf. He's a game for anything, so it'd be a fun road trip with Tim. As far as a historical figure or someone, wow. I guess I got to go to the sports world. Geez. And he was maybe a Michael Jordan in my era, because he was the idol of our era, of the king of everything, and same age group. So we'd probably stop with him. We'd play too much golf though. He'd have to stop and play golf. We'd waste too much time at golf courses with Michael Jordan, but probably a Michael Jordan because he was one of the superstars that I idolized.
I remember the time in Maplegate, and you and Burton came over the hill, and we ended up
launching missiles over your head. Yeah,
that's exactly right. So
Steve Burton, to this day, Steve Burton's the only guy that's ever hit me with a golf ball. So Steve's not the fastest golfer in the world. So we're taking our approach shots. I hit mine up, and I was on this side, so I walked up by the green to the right, and Steve's out there lining up his shot to the green, misses it to the right. I'm like around working on my bag, pulling a club out, putting the club in or something. And all of a sudden it felt like somebody took an iron and whacked my shoulder blade, like tapped me. And I thought he walked up behind me and jokingly tapped me with like an iron. I was like, what the heck? I turned around, it was the ball.
Yes, you're unbelievable. What about the CFL? Wasn't that what was it, the CFL that seemed to work so well for you? I mean, the Grey Cups, or Toronto Argonauts, Calgary Stampeders. Yeah. I mean, it seemed like that was a really fun and enjoyable experience.
I think what happened was, number one, they trusted me a little more and let go of the reins, and I could just be me again. And I called a lot of my own plays. I put in a lot of ideas in my own offense. But more than that, we started running the offenses that they're running today in the NFL. Shotgun, spread, empty sets, spread them out. If they cover down and go too high safeties, we block everything up front. I'll use myself as a runner, run quarterback, trap, draw, counter. So they had to defend that. We started the RPO game. I talked about this a bunch. We didn't write it down in the playbook, but Damon Allen, Marcus Allen's younger brother, was in Edmonton, and we all ran all our run game out of shotgun. So he was really good at eyeing the backside end, and if he'd crash down, pull the ball out and run naked bootleg. So I saw that, so I started doing it. But then the defensive back would come off the receiver to make the tackle. So I told the receiver, you run a fade and you run a flat route, and if they come off, I'll just dump it to you. Because the offensive line being downfield in Canada was a lot more liberal. You'd go to like 3 yards, not just 1 yard. And as long as they weren't blocking anybody at the time, they could be downfield. So we got away with a lot more. So we kind of started that RPO stuff up there as well, and it was like, hey, if he does this, I'm just going to throw it to you. And we did it off shovel passes. We did it off a bunch of different stuff. And it was just a more wide open game. And if you drop back up there and you don't have anything and you just take the ball and throw it away, you're going to be punting all day, because it was 3-down football and you needed to stay in down and distance. So the quarterback taking off and running for 5 to 7 yards or saving a play by hanging on to the ball and moving around. And plus the width of the field lent itself to that. it just all played right into my hands for the stuff that I did well. And I spent 8 years up there. And like you said, Lobie, 12 in the NFL. Sure, I would have loved to have had a Hall of Fame career in the NFL and played all my entire career in the NFL, but I wouldn't change anything for the world. That was so much fun. It regained my confidence. It smartened me up to, hey, you've got to have an input on game planning. When I came back to the NFL, it changed a lot of things for me, and I'm forever grateful to the CFL for that.
A lot of people don't remember, or they might forget that your first stop out of Boston College was the United States Football League and the
Yep.
New Jersey Generals, whose owner was Donald Trump.
Correct.
Now, we're not going to talk politics at all, but can you talk about having him as your boss?
I was 22 years old, and you guys knew me back then. I was pretty shy and quiet. I didn't speak up much. So when I was intimidated by Trump back then, I was like, yes, sir, no, sir. Yeah, not a lot of real conversations. But we were run like an NFL franchise. We played in the Meadowlands in New York, or actually over in Jersey. We had first-class staff and equipment and film and you name it, travel, hotels, all that a lot of USFL teams did not have. So we were run like a first-class NFL franchise. I think if you fast forward to my San Diego years, we started out a season 5-1. I was doing like the Leno show or something, and Trump happened to be on the show that night at the same time, just total coincidence. And we sat in the back and we talked. It was the first time I kind of got to sit and just be an adult and talk. And that was really cool for me, because back in those days, back in the USFL days, I was just, yes, sir, no, sir, quiet as a mouse.
You remember the time that we were sitting in the lobby, and you weren't the starting quarterback, Brian Sipe was. So Brian Sipe's roommate was a guy from Wakefield, Dave Lapham, who played. I played high school basketball against him. And he came down and told me, he goes, hey, Sipe just got traded. I go, what do you mean Sipe got traded? He goes, he's my roommate. I just helped him pack his bike. He should get traded to Jacksonville. And now you're coming on the air, and we're live sitting there. And I said, Doug, we're on live TV. I get news for you, which was kind of unfair because you could have uttered an expletive deleted, when I said, you're the starting quarterback. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, Brian Sipe just got traded. You're on right now. You're the number one quarterback. And you like, what the? And you didn't say what the F, you said, what the heck, really? This is the first I'm hearing of it. But that's how things happen in those days.
That was,
That's pretty cool.
I didn't understand pro football at the time. I came there, I signed this ridiculous contract. Nowadays, you just realize, okay, they're going to move the other guy and you're going to be the starter because you're making the money. That stuff didn't register me back then. I'm like, okay, I got Brian Sipe, veteran NFL guy that knows his stuff. I'm going to get a chance to learn for a little bit. I'll eventually take over the job, but I didn't think it was going to be like day 2 in training camp. It was a shock. I was surprised that it happened that quickly. I figured, you've got to earn your keep and get going and then become the starter. And so I got thrown to the wolves, and they loved part of that equation, Mike. We were in the middle of training camp. These guys had just finished double sessions.
Yeah.
I signed this stupid contract for more than the rest of these guys combined almost. And now, because I'm new, they're going to go through another week. Walt Michaels comes in and says, hey, we're going to go another week of double sessions. Doug needs to work. I was real popular with these guys. And it did take a while to get comfortable. I think somewhere around the midpoint of the season, I started getting comfortable. We started winning. We were a playoff team. But then towards the end of the year, Reggie White, actually, broke my collarbone, tackled me, and I missed the playoffs.
Doug, I wanted to ask you about Kosar. And he was the opposition in Miami, and as Neumeyer said, whoever had the ball last was going to win the game. That was the kind of game. You know, the past was the exclamation point on what was a really great game. There's no question about that. But what has been your relationship with Kosar, if at all?
Bernie and I actually, there was why was it? I don't remember why, but we were in Arizona together that summer before that season. And we actually played 9 holes of golf together.
Oh, that's good.
And we tied. We were playing very competitively with each other. It was like we both shot like 41 and dead tie. And we were kind of laughing about it after the fact. Like, should we tell people about this? You know, when the game was coming up. And the day of the game, you know, we didn't talk much during the season. We didn't talk all that. And then after the game, when the pass happened, Bernie kind of had his head down and went straight to the locker room. I didn't get a chance to see him after the game on the field. He actually called me the next day. You know, the PR department at Miami got on my phone number and we talked for a little bit. And ever since, you know, we've been kind of joined it, not like Gerard and I, but joined at the hip because of the game. Bernie had been through a lot of rough times, things like that. But we reconnected again at one of the Super Bowls. And there were all kinds of A-list type guys at this event that we were at. And Bernie came walking over, big hug. We were like 2 high school kids just talking for about an hour and a half and just screw everybody else. So he's been great. He and I have had a really good relationship over the years. You know, even though we don't spend a lot of time together, every time we talk, it's like a couple old high school buddies getting together. So it's pretty cool.
What about Jack Bicknell always used to say about Jimmy Johnson? He says, I don't know where he's going, but he sure as hell is in a hurry to get there. Meaning like another college job or an NFL job. And I got the sense that Jack knew that Jimmy Johnson had very little respect for Boston College. Was that the feeling among you guys, the team?
I think so. You know, he was an ambitious coach, and he phenomenal. We winning Super Bowls at Dallas, and all he's done in his career is absolutely amazing. Jack is a little more of a laid back, easygoing kind of guy. He would have loved to have stayed at Boston College his entire career. He had no ambition to go too much further than that. He'd come from Maine and got the job at BC, turned the program around and all that. And in our years and after our years, he had opportunities to sign for a lot of money. I know Arizona, he did not make much. Lynch, he didn't make over 25 grand at BC. He was in that ballpark the whole time. You know, he wasn't making huge money and getting a lot of perks. The biggest perk I think he got was maybe a membership at one of the country clubs. But you know, he loved being at BC and being a part of that. And he went on to do World League stuff after he got, you know, let go by Boston College. So, which really to him hurt because he had an opportunity to sign for some real money at the end of our little run there and stayed loyal to it. So that's just, it's you know, and Jack to this day, he's in New Hampshire. He spent a lot of time in New Hampshire and Maine. He loved to ride horses, all that. He looked great this week at the reunion. I'm not sure how old Jack is. He's somewhere in the 90 ballpark, I believe. You know, so he looked great and he's sharp as a tack. And he's got that same demeanor. And his son, Jackie Jr., has been a coach forever. Jack, he's a spitting image of dad. And they're 2 of my favorite people.
The only guy I ever knew that had a guitar in his office. And his office was about the size of this little bedroom I'm in right now. It wasn't.
Well, the guy you're talking, has got drums in his. You know,
yeah.
But this is I don't have a true office. This is my band room.
What's the Brady shirt? What's the Brady jersey? The Batman.
It's an autographed Brady shirt, and I have a Batman and Robin. You guys know my Batman thing going on. So where's Robin? Robin's over in this corner somewhere. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I see him.
So I had the Drew Brees. What I put on there now? I don't know what. I've got I must have done a Buffalo interview and put the Buffalo jersey on Robin. But Tom is always Batman. Drew Brees was Robin. And now, you know, because I had an interview the other day from Buffalo, I put the 7 jersey up. But that's just, all my stuff. I got a nice piano here. I fool around on that a little bit. I can't play guitar. I've tried so hard. I can't play guitar. It just doesn't happen.
Your brother couldn't teach you a few things?
You know, it's you got it for guitar. You have to put the time. That's something you need to start early and do every day for hours on end to really learn to play it. It just really, which one cool guitar I do have. Hang on, 30 seconds. Well, I got a bunch of cool autographed guitars by the guys from Aerosmith, the guys from Skinner, the guys from Bon Jovi, and who else? Van Halen. Got a bunch of them. But last year I got a collectible Batman guitar.
Oh.
It's like 1 out of 100 that were made. And George Barris autographed some. Barris made the Batmobile, and he did these guitars, and they signed them. There's like 100 of them out there. So I can't play it, of course. I could play like 4 or 5 chords, but that's it.
You want to play the drums for us today? No,
not at all.
Okay.
No, it wouldn't be worth doing. It would just sound really loud on this. But
Let me ask
the
you
drums,
about
that's been so much fun though. The band thing we did.
Yeah.
I had a chance to sit in with and play with guys from Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, the guys from Boston. Some of the former members of Boston were just really good friends of ours and would come to our foundation events and sit in and play. And Brad Delp sang with us. And the guys from Leonard Skinner, they've become really good friends. I've been on stage and played with them. It just really opened up a whole nother world to just fun stuff. And I am the world's most mediocre drummer ever. Like, I do what we do pretty good, but I am mediocre to poor, right? I'm not a real, these guys are like, when I sit and watch a real drummer play, it just makes me want to quit.
Did you know that the bass player for the band Boston, Franny Sheehan, Franny was on our high school basketball team. We won the state championship.
My God, I didn't know that about Fran.
Franny was on the team, and I saw him this month at a Swampscott luncheon we had with Coach Gallup and a bunch of other people with Turon. And Franny maintains that he came out in the Garden, the state championship game against Braintree, and he said, I was so pumped up that Turon let me lead the team out that he goes, my head hit the bottom of the backboard. He goes, my elbow was up over the rim. Now, Franny's about 5'8", right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a chance in hell that he was like that, but he believed he was that high off the ground.
Yeah, it's so exciting to play in those big games. And I didn't have my brother Darren played in state championship games in high school. I had a bunch of mediocre teams that didn't do squat in high school, but it is so exciting, so fun, and you get so pumped up running out of a tunnel for the intros of a game. You feel like you could just do anything, jump out of this world. And that adrenaline rush, I miss it. I miss that. Franny, I played with Franny, Barry Goudreau, and a couple of the guys over in Fort Myers not too many years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago. I had a chance to play with them, a couple of the Boston tunes.
So they had a press conference when he was with Boston, and they were asking when they were coming back to the Garden, and they said, "How's it feel to play in the Boston Garden for the first time?" And Franny says, "I played in the Boston Garden. I came out for layup drills against Braintree in 1968. I played it before. It's no big deal."
Yeah, Franny, Sibby, they played. That's back when Boston was so big. The band Boston, when that first album came out, they played like 13 straight nights at Boston Garden and sold it out. Like, they kept adding a show because they'd sell out again and adding a show, and they went like 13 straight nights. It was stupid. And I mean, that first album, all their stuff was amazing, but that first album just was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Spaceship.
Back when we used to listen to an album, you would buy the album and listen to it front and back and have the album cover and reading the lyrics and knew the songs and knew the guys in the band. Now they just download a song here or there, and it's different. Hey, had you guys ever heard this? The Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon. That if you time that up with The Wizard of Oz, you start the album, I think, on the second line of the MGM Lion's Roar. it like parallels the movie perfectly.
Really?
I've never done it. I've heard hundreds of people say this, and I've never done it, and I'm tempted to do it. I don't know if you have to be high at the time that you listen to it, but it's I don't know. That's a classic rock thing. Just a little sidebar.
Let me quickly get back to the thing we talked about at the beginning in the drop kick, and how what that conversation with Belichick was like to decide that he let you do the drop kick.
Should have one of these, Doug. Doug, you should have one of these. It would have gone right through.
Oh yeah, the square toe, baby. My first high school football kicks were square toe shoe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love it, Lynchy.
Scary.
The conversation with Belichick about drop kick. Well, Mike Vanderjagt and I played together in Toronto. He became Indianapolis's kicker. When we were in Toronto, we used to mess around drop kicking, go out just in warm up, like an hour and a half before even the team warm up. And so when he was with Indy and I was with Buffalo, we would go out on the field and screw around early. And Chris Berman had seen us doing it. So Chris Berman is actually the guy that told Belichick that I could do it. That, you know, Flutie can drop kick, hasn't been done since 1941. This guy Scooter, somebody did it. And he had all the information. So he went to Belichick. So it was after a practice that Belichick called me into his office. And he's sitting there, and Chris Berman was just beaming behind him, arms folded, big ass smile on his face. And Bears calls me in and says, "Hey, coach wants to see you." I'm 43 years old. I think I'm getting cut. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And coach looks at me and says, Bill says, "Hey, can you drop kick?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Is it legal?" And I go, "Yeah, it's still legal." He goes, "Well, work on it. We're going to practice tomorrow." And that was basically the conversation. Then we went into some, logistics, but I tried it the next day, and of course I'm a nervous wreck, and I haven't done squat for the team. You know, I'm holding the clipboard and the pom poms and rooting for Tommy to win me a Super Bowl ring. So I hit the left upright, I hit a line drive through, and I hit the center in the ass with the third one. Yeah, like, Belichick's, well, it's something we can work with. We were going to do it against the Jets on a Monday night, and I went in the game late. We had a drive, it stalled out. And it was going to be a long field goal, and we didn't do it. And totally forgot about it for 2 weeks. We're on the 5-yard line against Miami, a game that was a meaningless game. Castle started it. I was kind of a little disappointed that I didn't start that game, because it could have been like my last game, my last hurrah thing. And he wanted to find out about Castle, so he started him. And so I've been standing there stiff as a board. And I'm next to Bill, and he looks at me. He goes, "Hey, we score here, you kick it." He didn't get the sentence out of his mouth, and we were in the end zone. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yeah, go kick it." Now, I haven't warmed up. I haven't stretched anything. So I grab a ball out of equipment guy's hands, kind of punch one into the stands, and then jogged out on the field. And we lined up, and we're trying to make it look like we're going for two. And I drift back, and they call timeout. I'm like, thank God. Right? So Zach Thomas called timeout. No, we're not going to have to do this. I start towards the bench. Brady, Brewski, Belichick, all of them are like waving me back out. Like, you're going to do this. Go kick it. So I get back in the huddle. Now, these guys have already won Super Bowls. These guys, this is the Patriots, right? They'd already won their couple of Super Bowls. They were like a bunch of little kids at Christmas. They were all excited about it. I was a nervous wreck. The wide receiver, well, after we came back from timeout, Lonnie Paxton's like 220 pounds. Lonnie's the long snapper. He's got Keith Traylor 315, 320 over his nose. He's like, "Keith Traylor's talking smack. He's going to knock my head off. What are you doing in the game with Flutie?" I go, "Just tell him what we're doing. Tell him to chill out." And Bam was a rookie that got activated just for that game. He's out of wide receiver when Sam Madison looks at him. He goes, "You're running the fade, aren't you?" He said, No. He's like, "Hey, watch the slant. No. Check this out. This is going to be cool. You got to see this." And these are the conversations that were going on up front. So anyway, Lonnie snaps it. I kick it. It goes through. Zach Thomas steps up, goes to hit Lonnie, looks up, looks at Lonnie, goes, "What the was that?" He's like, "That's a drop kick, mother." And hadn't been done in 64 years. And then we went back, and I jogged towards the sideline, and I'm going right to Bill. And I always say this: Bill's not the most touchy-feely guy in the world, so I get the awkward hug from Bill, right? And the guys on the sideline and all that. So then later, I meet up with Laurie, my wife, and Alexa, our daughter. And Alexa comes up to me and goes, "Dad, you blew off Tom Brady on national TV." I'm like, "What? You blew off Tom Brady?" I'm like, "What?" Tom came out for a high five, and I went right by him to Bill. And, I was telling this story with Edelman, and it's like, he's like, "That's a thing. We all blow off Tom on high." It's because Tom's just a little awkward. Yeah, when you do a high five, you make eye contact first, Tom. Tom just puts his hand up in the air and hopes you find it. I don't know. I love Tom. I love Tom. Anyway, so that's my dropkick story. And
Great story.
It was pretty cool. And Chris Berman takes all the credit in the world, and rightfully so. And when Chris and I together, we kind of ham and egg the story a little bit, back and forth, and do it in a speaking setting or whatever. But it's a lot of fun. And it's really a cool moment for me because I have these two bookend moments in my career.
No, that's great. It was really
Hey, let me get this one spot in before we wrap this up. George Gray is the man. He's been our man for a long time. If you're thinking about a new vehicle, and I don't know if you get a Batmobile there, but go where Lobel and Lynch go. Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because they know that George Gray will treat you right. They're family-oriented, family-owned, and operated dealership that we trust, and you can trust as well. Go see the big wheel, we call him, George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Maybe we can get a Batmobile over there and and dress it up for you. That'd be something. Hey, let me ask you this: until at the Heisman Award presentation that Saturday night, until the president of the Downtown Athletic Club uttered the phrase, "And the winner of the 1984 Heisman Trophy is Doug Flutie." Did you finally exhale, or did you say, "Oh my God"? Is there a chance he could say Keith Byers, Bernie Kosar, or did you think you had it?
I thought I was going to win, and then it started to scare me because I started to think I was going to win. Like I said, I was a front runner. I had a good year going. The Miami thing happens. They fly private. First of all, we were played at Holy Cross. We go over to the local airport. Private plane in, helicopter over to the city, limo across the street to the Downtown Athletic Club. Laurie and I whip upstairs. They had a little meal for us. I had about a half hour to kill before we went down for the ceremony. And we're looking at each other, and she says to me, "You think they would have gone through all this if you didn't win?" You must have, right? Yeah, you must have won. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I probably am going to win. Then when I'm sitting there, now I'm like at the point where, oh, what if I don't? Okay, now what? Now I'm supposed to win. See, it was all different. It was all fun and games when you're not supposed to win Boston College, the little guy, all that. You're not supposed to. Now it's at the point where I'm supposed to. And that started to make me nervous. But it was like a little bit of a relief. And my brother Darren was right there next to me, and I gave him a hug or whatever. And it was definitely like a relief. And then, oh my God, this is so surreal. This is actually the Heisman. And then afterwards, I get a phone call from President Reagan and all that stuff too. That like after the ceremony. So just a whole different world because you got from Natick High and my little world, and I still to this day I don't have a high end world. I'm at the beach, I'm surfing, I'm hanging out with guys that are lifeguards and stuff like that.
I'm thinking eugenics. So what else do you expect?
Well, you got to do commercials. Got to have me face out there. Yeah, it's so funny. Someone will bring that up, and you go right into excuse me, right into the lines from the commercial. It's like doing movie lines. Somebody said something that triggers something, and right away you go into the line. But it's funny. It's like you get together with your old high school buddies, or even the BC guys. It's like, what are you taking ED drugs for? It's not an ED drug. It's a testosterone booster. It's not whatever.
All right. Well, I have one final question. 40 years have come and gone. And I can remember the Sports Illustrated cover, Magic Flutie. I, I'll never forget that cover. But I also wanted to ask you, the evolution of the National Football League quarterback is remarkable, and it's different. And you were there before most of these guys were there. You were doing these things before most of these guys were doing. So as you look at the NFL today and look at some of these quarterbacks, whether it's Lamar Jackson or whoever it is,
Mahomes.
who do you? Well, you know what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
They're all kind of become you in a bigger.
I would have loved to have played in today's NFL. You know, with the style of offenses, they all over the QB hanging on the ball, moving around and running for the first down. I used to get criticized. I come, you know, it would be 3rd and 6, and I didn't have something. I move around, I take off, I get the first down, I come to the sideline. It's like, Doug, you got to get rid of that ball. You had a chance. You could have stuck the seam in here, or you got to, you know, set your feet. So I'm watching the other night. Guys like, even Aaron Rodgers doesn't set his feet. He drifts away from people, and he trusts that his eye hand and his arm are good enough. You know, Mahomes, jump passes, on the move. That's what makes him so dangerous. Because now when you blitz somebody and you overload blitz, he doesn't have to throw a sight adjust and get rid of it. He drifts away, and you can still throw. And I did it in CFL forever. You can throw a 35-yard corner route.
But these guys are you. These guys are the modern version of you.
Yeah, they really are. And you know, obviously they're bigger, faster, stronger. I laugh. You see Barkley do his backwards hurdle of a player. You know, the pure athleticism is through the roof now. But the same principle of being an athletic quarterback that buys time versus blitz, can hold on the ball that extra second and still throw the ball down the field. You know, scrambling for first downs in crucial situations, spreading people out, using the quarterback as a designed runner, the RPO game. All that stuff lends itself to my abilities. And I just wish I could have, and I did. I basically played in these NFL offenses when I was in Canada. And it just, yeah, from that, and I root for all the little guys. I root for all the athletic guys. You know, you look at Patrick Mahomes, and the fact that he was a shortstop in high school or whatever, you know, baseball player, that says it all. Because you can drop down and throw sidearm falling away. You can throw on the run. You know how to flip your hips in the air and turn and throw. All these instinctive things that when it's time for the ball to go, that was the thing about when you drift and move as a quarterback and you don't set your feet, is that the ball's late. Right? The guy's making his break and you took too many steps. That doesn't matter with a Mahomes, because wherever his feet are at the moment, he can still throw the ball. Boom, it's out. He didn't have to set his feet. He didn't have to flip his hips. He didn't, you know, it could have been a sidearm. It could be over the top. It could be a jump pass. But when the ball has to go, it goes whatever position he's in at that moment, and he can be accurate. And that's the difference. And that's something that I could do. And, you know, I finally gained the confidence while I was in Buffalo to stick with it and just, you know, take the criticism of, you know, it's a minus on the play sheet because you took the wrong drop. You didn't set your feet. You didn't do it, but we got an 18-yard completion. You know, so I just, you know, that's just, I learned to do the things that I did well and have confidence in it. I wish I had done that from the beginning.
Well, happy anniversary. You did a great job.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
Awesome, Doug. It was so
We
much
all
fun,
went through.
and we'll do this again soon. All right.
Absolutely. You guys mean a lot to me. We all went through those years together.
Yep.
And it's really special. Thanks.
One hell of a ride, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, without you, we got no careers. Let's face it.
Right. Yeah, we'd be unemployed.
Oh, get out. You know better than that.
All right, Doug.
Thanks a
Thanks
lot,
so much.
guys. Good
Really
talking.
appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving. Best to the family. And everybody else out there, happy Thanksgiving. And don't forget to follow us on UnAnchoredBoston.com.